Hi everybody, welcome to a new edition of Let's Talk About Education with Antonio Corrales. We have heard about athletic programs and the impact that they have on student achievement. We have heard about the investments that schools and university put on into athletic programs. But what does it mean to take an athletic program from the beginning and develop it into a successful one? Well, today we have the honor to have with us Kim LeGate, who is the coach of the tennis varsity team at the Galveston Ball High. And she's going to explain us in simple terms what does it mean for us to develop an athletic program and make it a success. Kim, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me,
Absolutely,
Dr.
absolutely.
Corrales.
Absolutely. Why don't we start by letting you introduce yourself to the audience and kind of letting them know how do you get to where you are in your career.
Hey, well, hi, I'm Coach Kim LeGate's teacher, Kim LeGate. I will admit, I will be the first to admit that I did not start off being a teacher. I didn't even want to be a teacher. I actually graduated from Galveston Ball High in 2002. Hopefully my students aren't watching right now. Don't hold that against me. But I didn't. I knew that I wanted to, I loved math. I loved science. So I went to the University of Oklahoma in 2002 after I graduated. 5 years later, I ended up with a dual degree in math and biomedical sciences. Funny, I actually was just strictly veterinary medicine because honestly, the animals didn't talk back. Honestly. And I was thinking, well, I want to be in medicine. I want to be in an environment that I can help others and of course helping people with their animals. I really enjoyed that relationship. Well, my fourth year came to my college advisor and I went in and she said, Miss LeGate, did you take those math courses for a reason? And I said, yes, they were my electives. And she said, well, you stay one more semester and you can, after, this fourth year, so into a fifth year, and you can graduate with a dual degree in math. And I said, oh yeah, one more semester of OU football? Sold, where do I sign? So 5 years, after 5 years at OU, I ended up graduating with a dual degree in biomedical sciences and math with the minor in chemistry, cum laude.
Wow.
It was awesome, great experience. But nothing else was in Oklahoma but my Sooners and my education. So I ended up coming back, joining the team at UTMB with research pathology. And then, of course, I feel like we always refer to in Galveston pre-Ike, post-Ike now. And Ike hit, the clinical lab shut down as far as, until the hospital came up and running. And my team of human resource and directors came and found me because I'm a Ball High graduate and I think they had been stalking me secretly and they knew everything about me. They were like, we know you graduated, we know you're in highest honors with math, will you teach at Ball? And I've been loving it, teaching ever since. So going into the background of athletics, 5 years ago, I was asked to take the position as the head tennis coach. At the high school level, when you take on that feat, and I feel like they had me sign too soon. No, I'm just kidding. At the high school level, you're responsible for varsity and JV, boys and girls. So that's 9th grade through seniors. That comes with 14-year-olds all the way to 18. And I used to play tennis at Ball. I didn't play competitively at the collegiate level, but I did, I know about as far as leadership and being a part of tennis. Of course, I know tennis. That definitely helps anybody wanting to be a coach, even assistant coach. And if you want to be an assistant coach, come find me in Galveston. But they asked me 5 years ago to be the tennis coach, and I thought that I couldn't think of anything better to do with my extra time. Now I don't know what extra time is, but it's been an amazing feat, and the growth from the bottom to the top has been amazing.
Yeah, so following up with that, because you're a really good math teacher, and you do a really good job on that. You're currently doing your master in educational management. How to develop what does it mean to develop an athletic program in a high school? Being a teacher, having the responsibility as a teacher, having 150 200 students per year, and having to at the same time develop a program from the get-go, from zero, basically, where you took the tennis program, and now it's a program where you have plenty of students applying every year, where you're competitive with other districts. What does it take to take a program from scratch to a competitive level?
Yeah, absolutely. And in one word, commitment.
Like that.
Commitment. Again, back to that 5 years ago, I think expect the unexpected. Definitely expect the unexpected. You have to be adaptable. Again, back to that day 5 years ago, I'll never forget. I actually, funny story, was more scared than the kids were. I even left my dress out pants. I felt like that student in PE class that was like, "Coach, I don't have my gear today." I was, very, very nervous. But commitment is one of the biggest things in any program that you start. I knew that I was at a point in my academic career that I wanted to challenge myself, and I had actually previously challenged myself to being the UIL math coach. Mm-hmm. So I, in the same year, took on UIL math with number sense and math and general math and calculator. And then in the same year, I also volunteered to be the AP statistics teacher.
Now, do you...
Once you start volunteering, it never stops. They come and find you.
Don't write your name down. Don't put your name
down. Start scratching it out.
But how do you? I mean, when you took over the position of the athletic, no?
Mm-hmm.
How do you have to recruit some of the students yourself? I mean, and what was the biggest challenge that you faced? What were the biggest barriers that you faced when you took over?
Taking over someone else's program. I think it's a kind of a catch-22 in that sense of it wasn't necessarily someone else's program yet, because unfortunately Galveston Ball had gone through a revolving door of coaches at that point. They couldn't get, for whatever reason, a coach in that position permanently. And so I actually joined the program. I came on halfway through the season. So tennis is a full year long season. You look under the UIL directory and it says in-season dates, and it says all year.
Correct.
So that's the only sport that has that.
Correct.
I came in January. So I literally was starting the program in the middle. I think the scariest part of that was living up to the players and the team's expectations.
Correct.
Coming into that, I knew, because I grew up in Galveston, I knew the families, but I knew presence was the biggest thing. They needed to know who I was in a matter of a week, and not just the kids, but the families, because I was about to take their kids. I met them on Monday. I was about to take them Friday to Pasadena for their first match on the bus. And immediately I knew within 5 days I needed to form a community.
Correct.
I needed to meet the players. I needed them to respect me, and I needed the families to feel comfortable and safe with me. So the biggest concern was, how do I do that in such a short amount of time?
And that's a great point, because one of the things that I feel with your program is that you have a community, you have people backing you up. What did it take to build that in such a sustainable way? Because you may build in 1 year, but then the other year you lost it. How do you make it sustainable you know, and how do you build it?
First is consistency. I mean, to gain the respect of the players and the families, consistency is huge. Showing commitment, making sure that you're dedicated, having a plan, having an organized plan, and following through on that plan. Starting from the bottom, I knew that it was going to take additional money. I knew that it was going to take, we have to have a schedule. We have to have scheduled practices, matches, tournaments, things like that. So I think the first week, after I met the families, I traveled with them, I said, okay, this is what I have. I could barely walk into I call it the clubhouse now, but our shed of materials and supplies. And it was like I immediately started making a checklist. And so one of the beneficial things that I know about myself is that I can take a situation, I can analyze it and prioritize to what do we need, what can we do without, what do we need now, what can wait. And for one, I knew we needed family community.
Right.
And then we needed support with the athletic program, and then we definitely needed our own fundraising.
That's a great point. So how do you start getting financial support? Because tennis is not the most popular sport.
No, it's not prioritized.
Yeah,
it is now.
Well, especially in Texas, it's almost like a religion. Football is almost like a religion, but the tennis, in some areas it is. But let's say that at that particular point it wasn't that popular. So how do you get that financial support? How long did it take for you to start, receiving institutional support from administrators and stakeholders to say, okay, let's support this program because it's really taking traction now?
Absolutely. To be honest, the first, going back to that commitment, you have to, I think honestly, it starts with just having a presence. You must have a presence in the community. You must make sure that any littlest thing is in the announcements and the daily reports, in the newspaper. You need to make sure that in the athletic office, I am attaching every email. I'm making sure that our athletic director knows, the accomplishments of the program. So instead of, segregating ourselves, we need to make sure to come together as unity. And I'm always putting us in there, involving us with all the different things. My first, so I started in January, but the next year it was very important for our team to be in the homecoming parade. And we were one of the, one of the smaller, I say small, but our program is 40 players.
Yeah.
But one of the kind of, uncovered gems at the school, but I knew that a presence in the community would help us, and just exposure and seeing, the community knowing that we were out there. So we were out there, October 2014, and we were throwing tennis balls out from the back of my father's truck. Yeah. Just to, BHS tennis was all over, and the community knew. And then the next year, homecoming 2016, I guess, they were looking for it. Oh, there comes tennis. There comes the tennis float. So, I think
building a brand.
Yes.
For your. Now, what about the local media? You start reaching out to them, because right now I can say that the tennis program has a lot of coverage in the local media, and so how do you get that traction too?
So as far as our county media, our resources are local. Coach Moreno is Galveston, Galveston born. He's in here, so he's definitely a huge supporter of the program. And then as far as district wide, they just want announcements. They want to, they are all about diversity. So as long as you are telling them and about your program and the accomplishments of their program, or of your program, any sport, any academic, they are wanting to applaud you. They want, and when I say they, not this mythical mothership, it's the district. The district wants to be able to applaud you, whether it's through the social media or for the GISD website. If you go to www.gisd.org, you'll see our tennis picture. Our team is the first picture up. But they they know the importance.
Yeah.
Galveston Independent School District at any administrative level knows the importance of building the community and awareness, and then that all of that has helped our family build. You ask if you asked a little bit ago, do I have to recruit to build a program? And absolutely 100%.
Yeah, because you have to start in middle school, right? Start reaching out before they get to high school, so you can start that sustainability of the program, right?
Yes. Oh yes. The sustainability of the program is dependent on you starting at the younger level, which is difficult. It has actually been very, very taxful for tennis, because we lost a little bit of background on Galveston. We lost our club. We lost our racket club, which was the big house. I mean, it promoted tennis on the island, and it really groomed the young community.
We lost it because of
the storm.
The storm.
Ike came.
That was in 2008.
And I was in 2008. So remember the pre and post storm.
Yeah, pre and post.
But yes, it wiped out our club and our courts. So
basically, you guys have become, you both have had to replace the traditional racket club that the little town had. So the time that you have to invest recruiting, I guess, is substantial. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, so we are at a disadvantage competitively from other schools that are either in our district or in our county, because we don't have the availability of that local community club.
That's a natural feeder for the program.
Yeah, but we also do have an organized tennis program that Coach Moreno has, and Coach John Armstrong at the rec center, the local recreational center on the seawall, and that's really been actually beneficial, because it's been grooming interest. It's been bringing interest into the program. So my young my players, they're young, but my high school players, actually, I encourage them to go coach the younger kids, and they actually recruit just by being there. Absolutely, just being there, forming that relationship, and they also are. I'm very, very fortunate to work with some amazing, your son included, amazing, honorable individuals, very outgoing, and so it makes my job so much easier, because it's the trust. They can trust me, and I can trust them, and we survive and we thrive together with that. So with that program building over at Menard, my players have been grooming Tyrese Washington on my former tour. He just graduated. Ty, if you're watching this, I hope Prairie View is treating you very well. And Tyrese was one of the big program promoters at Menard over the summer, and Noah Elsner went through, and Bryce Rosales, and they actually coach these younger. So this past summer, one of my goals, I'm very goal oriented. That's another thing. If you take on a program, whether it's an academic or athletic, having goals that are achievable, whether they're tomorrow, whether they're in a year, you make sure that those goals are a vision. You need to make sure that you always have a vision to work forward to. But my goal, 4.5 years ago, was to host our own tournament and provide a camp for the young kids here. And we actually did both of these this year. 4 years later, it was awesome. And the camp, this was our first camp in the community. The tours were involved. They were involved recruiting. They were involved with actually hosting and directing the camp. But we actually had 30 kids in the community signed up, 3-day camp over the summer, and that was the first time that we'd ever done it.
That is fantastic.
So,
and what a great way to recruit.
Yes.
Now, but I have some follow-up questions in there. One of the questions, and we're going to talk about time commitment, but I wanna ask you real quick. Now, and this may be a little personal question, but it's also, I think it's relevant for our audience, maybe other female coaches.
Do you
and
have a
maybe,
life? Is that what you're
no,
asking?
we're gonna get there.
Oh, thanks.
But the question is that you're in the state of Texas, where, like we said before, football is almost like a religion, and being what does it mean to be? How do you gain the respect? And not to say that Texas is chauvinist, but it's a predominantly male, sport-oriented town. When you have football in such a pedestal, how to gain the respect from the athletic community, being a female coach on charge of an athletic program such as tennis? What did it take for you to get it? Or did you go to any struggle, or was it a natural thing that just?
So honestly, as far as I mean, of course, tennis, and I think priority-wise, right there, that is the struggle. That's the main struggle. That and trying to get rid of my soft tan line, right? But the main struggle, as far as a tennis coach first, is that priority.
Correct.
We don't make the money. But we, it's a program like any other, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of an athletic program. My athletic director, assistant athletic director, definitely respects our program, appreciates our program, and is supportive of our program, and that's huge. I know, because I collaborate. Another huge thing is collaboration with, amongst the teams in your district, amongst the teams, the coaches in your school, but amongst the teams in my district, or any teams that I meet, that's one of the biggest things that they face, one of the struggles that they face, whether it's a male or female coach, that tennis is not prioritized. And I definitely have to say that I am fortunate that we actually do get a lot of support.
But what about the being a female?
But
was that a struggle, or has it been a factor intrinsically, or hasn't been at all?
No, honestly, it's never been a distinguishing factor.
Okay.
I've never had that. I mean, now it helps that I am a huge sports enthusiast. So if you talk any sport with me, I know every single sport under the moon. That was one of my goals at OU before I graduated, that I wanted to watch every single sport. And I watched wrestling, I watched gymnastics, I watched but I'm huge. I mean, I'm, as far as the feminism, and I'm not here to preach the Serena Williams go women, be strong power. But I think as far as a tennis coach, as I said before, it's coaching men and women.
Exactly.
It's coaching young men and women. So the respect from other coaches, they do not see gender. They do not distinguish or segregate. Mm-hmm.
They see your workload.
Yes, they don't distinguish me, and I've never felt that. I've never felt that struggle, as I am woman, hear me roar. But I will always fight for tennis.
Gotcha.
So it's so funny, and Coach Anders, if he's watching this.
That's your flag.
This is, but it's funny. There's a funny story to go with that.
Okay.
First week, so this is back in January, 4 years ago, I guess.
Okay.
I took on the tennis coach, and Coach Anders hired me. Coach Temple, the assistant athletic director, hired me, and Mr. Pillar, our principal. So everybody knows, this Coach LeGate. And I set it up. I know to build a program, you have to be skilled and you have to be strong. So of course, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to be at the courts. Tuesday, Thursday, we're going to be in the weight room. Call our weight room director or coordinator and say, okay, are these times available? Tennis has got them. Good, we're on the books. Very plain. You got to have a plan. So that first Tuesday, tennis team walks in. I'm, trucking behind them. Because I also teach geometry pre-AP and AP statistics. So teacher by day, coach by afternoon. But I walk in, and my entire tennis team, girls and boys, are standing outside of the weight room. And this is 30 kids standing outside of the weight room. I said, what's going on, guys? And, they're still gaining that respect from me as well.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, the football team's in there. And I said, well, okay. we'll go on in there. Well, it looks full, coach. looks full. And we know football players, tennis players.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, coach, you know.
A little packed.
Well, just so they opened up that path and let me go. And, you know, Coach Anders is, you know, a former Kansas City Chief player, by the way. That's my athletic director. Amazing man. And I walk in and I see him with his Kansas City Chief hat on.
Yeah.
This is our second interaction outside of him shaking my hand and saying, "You're hired."
Yeah.
Coach, this is the weight room for tennis this period. And he looked down at me and he said, I said, well, we're in here. We're supposed to be in here. So, you know, we're coming in. Tennis is coming in. He looked at me, got a big smile and said, all right. So they moved aside. He moved his entire squad to the side. Tennis came in, and that was that. So from now, so I mean, you can't be afraid to, because from that day forward, you know, Coach Anders didn't know who I was, but he definitely knew who I was then.
After that.
He knew that I was the new tennis coach, but he definitely knew that I was Coach Kim LeGate, and I was going to be someone to fight for my program,
That's
for
awesome.
strengthening that program. And I tell you what, after I got my kids through that, I was definitely straight faced. We got through the weight room, practice was over. I went home and I had sweaty armpits. I was just like, I cannot believe I just did that.
What did I do?
But it was, I mean, I did it.
But
I
it
was like,
worked.
what did I just do?
Well, but you weren't. It wasn't personal. You were defending the
No,
program.
yeah, it was.
No.
And you have to be strong as a leader. You know, that was
To take a stand.
Yeah, and it wasn't intimidating at all,
No.
because Coach Anders, you know, and for, you know, most of Galveston ISD was not aware that a program was being built.
Correct.
And the moment that I shook hands with them and said, I am accepting this job, the program was starting to be built.
Correct.
Whether it was in my head, in paper, you know,
Or
in the newspaper.
or in your vision.
It was being built.
Now, one of the topics that I don't want us to not talk about is that you have a great relationship with your players. I would say almost like a motherhood type of relation, mentorship. And one of the things that is really intriguing in the academia and everywhere, one of the big discussion topics is, does athletics play a role in academic achievement? And so I think that one of your successes, so to say, is your relationship with the students, you know, to not only perform in your program, but also continue performing academically. How do you do that?
So they are labeled first and foremost student athletes. That is something that I teach them, and I'm a 100% believer. Tennis is an academically strong sport. You have to be, I mean, in athletics, yes, you do have to have the skill, but you also have to have the mindset, you have to have the control, and you have to have the intellectual strategy. I mean, of course, of angles and movements and timing and hand coordination. So academically, just to play the sport and to be competitive in the sport is so important. But I think, honestly, being a coach is one of the most rewarding and best opportunities in life that I could have ever asked for, because I'm not only able to coach them in a specific sport like tennis, I'm also able to build character. I'm able to help them be leaders. I'm able to, I mean, and we come together as far as I teach them to be a competitive high school athlete. It is so important to have time management. You have to have work ethic, because some of those days when crazy coach gets really excited and she has practice till 7:30 until the sun goes down, you have to be able to manage those. You know, as the better the program is getting, the more play we're going to get.
Do you have those conversations with them?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They know that they must be managing their time They know to bring studies with them at tournaments. They form study groups. Because I am fortunate that at Ball High, we have those magnets. We have the communities based on the interests of the students. And majority of them are in the same classes.
Correct.
They're in the same communities, and they work together. So I'm always encouraging that. We have one day a week where there's no practice, and not this week, but we played twice this week. But they have one day a week where it's tutorials. Fridays are in the classroom as well with tutorials. So, and they must show me grade reports. I must be.
So you demand that they show you that.
Yes, because unfortunately, as far as for our sport in particular, it's very, very slim to be a professional tennis player, even a collegiate tennis player.
It could be tough.
So yes, it's very, very competitive, and especially when we are challenged with competing with overseas. We have a lot of international players that play at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
So one of the most important things for me to stress to my students is that academic comes first, because that is your future. Tennis will always be there. It's one of the greatest sports. It's like golf, but it hurts the back a little bit more as you get older.
Yeah.
But it's one of the greatest sports that you could play. And for me to even coach, and of course, I want to go all the way with district, but even past district. But academically, that is their main focus.
What about when you have to take that hard decision of not letting a player play because of academics?
Oh yes.
Have you been in that position? And
yes.
What does it take to avoid, for the audience or potential future coaches that are looking at us, or ladies who may looking at you as a role model? What does it take to not only make the decision but also sustain the pressure that you may have to perform, or from parents trying to push you to put the player again? How do you manage that?
Yes. So we're very very fortunate with tennis. We have a ladder. It's more of an individual, and then we come together with a team. So as far as parents coming in and availability with play time, that's definitely all on paper. Now when it comes to academic monitoring, I definitely monitor my players very, very well. I make sure I know what their schedule is, what courses they're taking. I try to form. I do the hovering kind of helicopter mom situation, where I try to form and see what classes they have alike. My underclassmen, I try to I try to get my upperclassmen to take my underclassmen, and I refer to them. I'm fortunate to also have a lot of those players. A lot of my players are in my classes, so I can say, hey, Tony, you took statistics. Storm's in statistics right now. Let's go ahead and make sure that we work together and things like that. So I definitely monitor and try to be proactive with academics. Now, of course, there's struggles. It's like I said, majority of tennis players and are going to be in those higher level. Athletes are going to struggle, especially coming into the program. It is a lot of hours expected of them, being out of the classroom as well on traveling matches. So making sure that you're proactive is something that's very, very powerful. In the event that they are not academically eligible, we do have a program in effect sent out through UIL, so I always make sure to put that up front and in our team folders, so all the parents are aware, all the players are aware. Immediately, if one of my players is academically ineligible, I have that one-on-one talk. My first question is, what happened? What is going on, and just to hear them out, because sometimes it's a vent session. Sometimes you need to be that emotional crutch for them, because they are only teenagers. They are going through not only the maturation of going from 14 to 18-year-olds. Maybe they are going through interviewing for colleges, applying for colleges, going through scholarships. But all of that interaction, sometimes you just need to be a listener. So you start with that question of, because they know that you're watching their grades. I mean, they know that when that progress report comes, they're not only going to have to try to hide it from their parents, they're going to have to try to hide it from coach.
Exactly.
And so they know immediately. You need to have that conversation with them. And it's not to be oh, you did this wrong. It's how can I help you fix this?
Correct.
How can we come together and fix this? And then we have a goal of a timeline. You have 3 weeks till the next grade report. This is what we're going to do, and we get a plan. You need to help them, because when things like that happen, it can be embarrassing, because all the rest of the players are like, where'd they go?
Yeah.
Where'd they go? It can be depressing, because it's,
Tennis is
you
part of their
feel like
life.
you feel like you let the team down. You feel like you let yourself down. We don't know what's going on in the household, so you
Correct.
might be letting your folks down.
Correct.
So being supportive at all times, even though that might be your, number 3, number 4, number 1 player that's struggling, that roster is manipulated. I mean, that roster will adapt. You need to make sure that first and foremost, you are there for that individual.
And you're consistent applying your rule.
Yes.
But what another thing that is really important is motivating millennials, because tennis, reading, and everything else has a lot of competition nowadays.
Yes.
With Netflix and YouTube and all the other stuff that millennials do. How to keep them motivated even with tennis or academics? What do you do?
So it definitely helps to give them you need to make sure that they can have a safe, self-confident arena. Because what I've been facing in the classroom and as a coach is that going into that social media is almost like you're hiding with insecurities. You're hiding behind insecurities, all consuming in the social media where you're not having to have face-to-face interactions. And being able to detach them is a huge feat. I mean, it is. I mean, it's prying them away from their livelihood, whether it's through text message or the different, watching the YouTube videos and all kinds of different social media that's out there, Snapchat. I'm still out there. One of my good friends said I needed to get a part of that, and it lasted for like a week. But I am still out there as Mustang Kimmy somewhere. But being able to detach them for those 2 hours and it is enabling them to have a connection with the real world, because all of the cyber and social interaction is never changing. It's not something that we can hide from, but because even academically, we're implementing this new it's called Canvas. And it's been piloted. It started piloting last year, and it's very similar to a Blackboard or a collegiate, web CT program. That it's all internet based. So there our students are back on the internet. So the best thing that, as far as a sport, which I told you before, coaching a sport is one of those amazing, fulfilling opportunities that we need to take advantage of to make sure that they leave the phone and commit to being focused, because tennis is such a mentally strengthening game.
Absolutely.
And I ask my kids every time they come on the tennis courts, if I feel like they're in their head too much, or if I feel like I see some distractions, maybe they're going to their phone a lot, I tell them, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about right now? And they know they better tell me something tennis right off the bat, or they're going to be doing laps, or they're going to get a look. They're definitely going to get a look. So when we hit those tennis courts, it's not multitasking. It's tennis, and that's it. Because I feel like the millennials are faced with so many tasks. They have so many, they're multitaskers. I thought I was a multitasker. But these kids, the things that they're doing, and they're expected to, I mean, they're expected, if you're not familiar with high school now, at Galveston, they're expected from 8:15 to 3:45 to meet with 8 different teachers, 8 different subjects for 45 minutes every single day, Monday through Friday. Have homework every single day. Meet with their coach, who is trying to coach them this way and the other, every single day. So
It's tough.
it is, and they need to keep up with, just being a teenager.
Yeah.
Staying healthy, making sure that they're doing their chores at home, being respectful, even though it's 1 o'clock in the morning and their mom's like, turn that light off, and they're like, Mom, I gotta work.
Yeah.
But they're still like, okay, 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
And then they wake up and do it again. And it's just, the expectations that we have are, they're very, very challenging. They can be done because our kids do it every single day and they're still successful. And it's grooming them to be multitaskers, but sometimes that outlet, to be able to have an outlet like a sport or an extracurricular activity of any kind, is
it could be
helping them decompress.
Yeah.
Decompress and recenter.
Yeah.
So they even though they are all about, oh my gosh, I need my phone, I need this.
They appreciate that time.
They do.
Yeah. But what about, okay, so to finish it up, Coach, what about some recommendations for administrators, teachers, or potential coaches that are looking at us right now, looking to create a program or expand a program the way that you did?
As I
At a high
said,
school
and we'll take it back to square one, commitment. It does take great devotion, commitment, and connection. Not just with your players, you need to have respect for your players, whether it's academically or in a sports arena, athletically. You need to make sure that you form that trust, community. Like I said, it's an amazing opportunity to be an academic teacher and a coach, because I feel like for those 45 minutes that I have with my classes, or my hour and a half to 2 hours that I have a day with my tennis players, they see me as their model. They see me as their leader. So composure and strength, and make sure that you model the leadership role. That is making sure that you are organized, making sure that you have a plan, making sure that you have a goal, and making sure that they're accountable for themselves as well as you, because you are grooming these young individuals, whether they play tennis or play football professionally, college professionally. They will always remember that team bonding. They will always remember that teamwork. They will always remember that work ethic. And make it off the courts too. Our tennis team is very involved with the community. Every year we make sure that we do community service outside of tennis, and every year we usually run in the Defeat Breast Cancer run, where we come together, we actually train for it, and we do that community building. But the kids, the players really enjoy that organized, outside of your sport, in the community service. They want that opportunity within an organized vicinity, or facility. So to facilitate all of those things for your players is definitely something that you need to build. Consistency is huge. As far as your expectations, be upfront with the expectations, because these players want to fulfill all of what you ask of them. They want to, and they see you as this. That you're the leader. You're educated, and you're trying to educate them, and they want to absorb everything that you have to offer.
Yeah.
So as long as you are a strong, supportive, and consistent role model and leader to them, I mean, that is honestly one of the biggest things that I could promote as a coach, because I mean, even in district administrators, I'm following you as well as a teacher and a coach. And I mean, we have coaches meetings, and as teachers we have teacher meetings, and any kind of professional development that I can take away and bring back to my program is huge as well. So I mean, we actually, for the past 2 years within our athletic program, we've had monthly meetings where we come and we collaborate, we do a little good things, you know, we get to shout out, but we also get to discuss anything that we're struggling with, as far as, you know, we're struggling to figure out how to get things for our facility, or we're struggling with a player that we really can't connect to. How do we try to connect? Or how do we help them academically, and things like that. Even with teaching, you know, we need, I mean, it's very, very powerful, that statement of no child left behind. And sometimes it can be very challenging, but it's also pretty exciting, because then you get to get creative.
Exactly.
You get to be creative, and it's problem solving.
Yeah.
It really is problem solving, and when it works, it really works, and that's the reward right there.
That is fantastic.
That is the reward.
Well, I want to thank you one more time, Coach Kim LeGate, for being with us today. Folks, remember that we have this video and many others on Antonio Corrales YouTube channel. Let's talk about education with Antonio Corrales, and sterlingevaluationassessment.com. Please help somebody today, and see you next time.
Thank you.